You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast. That's AKA Murph.
And that's AP. And this is the podcast where we talk about cycling just for the fun of it, with tales from all over the nation. Come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile.
Well, hello, Murph.
Hey there, how's it going?
Fantastic. It seems like just yesterday we were talking about how cold it was
Yeah.
and wishing that we were biking outside. And poof, it's May. Well, almost May. And it's been warm and sunny outside.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've been biking every day this week, and having the sunshine on me, like you don't realize how much you've missed that. It's crazy.
I know. It's truly gorgeous outside here in Iowa, and I hope it is where you guys live as well, you listeners,
Yeah,
because it's bike season, baby.
it is. I'm going to guess there's probably some listeners out there somewhere in the country looking out their windows right now and still seeing snow. And I
Yeah.
guess, sorry, but man, in Iowa, it is actually looking and feeling like spring.
Yeah. Well, like any of the Midwestern states, it's spring in quotation marks because I did see snow in our forecast for this weekend. Now,
Yeah.
I think it will snow and not stick, but we have a wide variety of weather this time of year. So I
Agreed.
encourage you to take advantage of when it's nice out because we have a couple of those or a lot of those days recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been getting in a couple of rides on my new bike even, which is
Ooh,
pretty fun.
yay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mostly just around here in the Des Moines metro area, just because I've been busy with work, but can't wait to get out biking more places with my new baby.
Yes, that bike is so sweet.
I know it's pretty fun. I've been definitely enjoying the new wheels, and if you've been any of you listeners have been thinking about getting a new bike, highly recommend it because it just gets you re-excited about everything cycling that's fun, everything that's enjoyable about cycling. And if you have a bike that you've had for a long time and you aren't looking at getting a new bike, I encourage you to just take it to the shop and get it tuned up and maybe
Yeah.
get it clean on it, get it detailed,
Yep.
and you'll feel like you're on a new bike again. But so how about you, Murph? I know you've been out biking some cool places recently.
Oh, yeah. I have been doing some big time traveling lately. I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'm on a quest to check off every single state in the United States and say that I've biked there.
Mm.
So I recently checked off 2 more states.
Very
Went
good.
with a friend. She has got one of those camper van things. So we kind of Thelma and Louised it and drove down to Kentucky. And we
Oh,
biked on a trail that took us through what's called Land Between the Lakes recreation area.
oh,
So you
oh
can
yeah,
you can guess what's between the lakes. Land.
land.
And
Very good.
beautiful. Like they're these 2 really like, I don't know, artsy bridges that you go over each lake.
Mm.
And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, the recreational area inside of it is, there weren't any homes. It was just a beautiful, I want to say park, but it was miles and miles and miles. So it was really cool.
Oh, gorgeous.
And then on our way back, we went into Indiana so I could check off that state
Mm.
and biked on what's called the Greenway Passage.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was also beautiful. Like it took us through the metro of Evansville, I believe it was called. So that was really cool too.
Yep, Evansville is down in southern Indiana,
Yep.
kind of by the Kentucky border.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
For those of you who may not remember, I have lived in Indiana where I went to college. I've done a lot of biking in Indiana, and it is awesome. Actually, they've really invested in their cycling infrastructure.
Yeah.
I haven't biked down in Evansville, but I have biked a lot in Indianapolis, and I totally recommend it.
Yeah.
Just,
And this
it's a little flatter than Iowa, but it is still really pretty.
agreed. And this trail that we were on, took you through neighborhoods, but a lot of it was right on waterfront. So it was just beautiful.
Mm.
So you're right.
Yeah.
They've definitely invested in, artwork and the pavement. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I guess before that, I hate to brag, but I did go down to Texas to see Taylor Swift.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you're a Swiftie, secret Swiftie.
I don't know that I am a Swiftie. I am now because the concert was so good and it was at the Cowboy Stadium. But while we were there for that weekend, it happened to also be the women's national basketball tournament. And as you know,
Lucky duck.
Iowa
Yep.
was in the championship game. And so we said YOLO, and we ended up getting a ticket. And so we got to go see that game, which, they lost, but wow, it was so cool.
Oh, what a game and what an experience for those women. I'm so jealous that you're able to go down and see that, cheer them on
Yeah,
live.
it was awesome. So,
Yeah.
I have a really quick side note. Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
You
Oh,
know,
I'm ready.
you know the saying, "Don't cry over spilt milk."
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, you tell me that a lot.
Do- okay, so stay with me, AP, and stay with me, listeners, because there's a reason for me asking that. So,
Okay.
did all this traveling, and I was with my friend in her camper van. And for people who know me, you know that I only drive my car maybe once a month. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
mostly when I come visit you, Andrea, in Des Moines. So,
Yeah.
I have underground parking at my condo building, so my car just, waits underground, waits for me. So, coming
Mm-hmm.
back from these epic trips, and I ordered groceries online
Oh,
because
yeah.
I needed groceries, right?
Sure.
So, order them online. And what they do here where I live is that you can order your groceries, they'll have them ready for you, and then you just drive and pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
So, got back home, jumped in my car, went and got my groceries. You know, the guy put them in the back seat, and then I got home and I had, all these bags. So, I get upstairs, putting stuff away, and I noticed that my milk jug is like a quarter, like there's a quarter of it missing.
Oh,
And I'm like,
no.
what? This is weird. And it had a little dent in it. So I'm like, oh, the guy must have dropped it, or I don't know. I didn't drop it. But there wasn't really any milk like in the bag, or I'm like, well, where did that milk go? Like maybe he gave
Oh,
it to me,
no.
you know, with it already empty. I don't know. Then I didn't even think anything more about it. A week goes by and I go to get in my car yesterday. And I am just positive that there's something dead in my car because I'm like,
Ew.
must be a dead mouse, or maybe I hit a bird and it got stuck in the grill.
Oh,
It
no.
took me till last night to remember the spilt milk is now in the
Oh,
back of my car.
no.
And it's
Oh,
dry,
Grody.
right? So I can't
Yeah.
even tell where it is. I just know my
Oh.
car smells so bad. So if anybody out there has ever dealt with spilled milk that then dries and is rotten and
Ew.
stinks up my entire car, like, I don't know what to do. Like, should I go sell it? Should I sell the car?
Well, don't cry. That's step one. Don't cry. Ew.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know. I've been to some of those like car wash places where they have vacuums and they have like a foaming shampoo
oh,
that you
okay.
could use.
Okay.
I mean, that's my best suggestion, but that's gross. I don't know.
Yeah.
You might have to dump it in the river, the
I'm
whole thing.
I might. And I can't, I have a really sensitive sense of smell, but I can't
Hmm.
determine where it was spilled. If it was, on the, where you keep your feet when you or are a passenger, or if it was on the
Oh,
back
yeah.
seat, or so I
Ugh,
don't know. I've got to deal with that. So that's
yeah.
a little side note. And please
Well,
email us if you have a great a great idea for me.
yeah. I think maybe just never drive again. Just a bike only.
Okay.
Just that's my
Perfect.
suggestion to you.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, back to the
All right.
topic at hand. So one
Okay.
state I have yet to pedal in is Georgia. How about you?
Yeah, I have never biked in Georgia, although it's definitely on my bucket list after our interview we have coming up today.
I know. So that's today's interview. We are going to learn more about biking in Georgia.
Yes, we have Franklin Johnson on the show today to talk about Bragg, which is the bicycle ride across Georgia.
Yes. So Franklin is the executive director, and also he is a Georgia native. So he knows all things Georgia.
Yeah, and it just sounds like just an incredible event, and all the satellite events that they have surrounding Bragg sound really cool as well. Something about Bragg that you might not know, listener, is that the ride is about 40 years old, and it was inspired by RAGBRAI. So a woman named Dot Moss rode RAGBRAI long ago and thought, hey, we should do this in Georgia, and the rest is history.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to go deal with my spilled milk, and let's listen to Franklin talk about Bragg.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Franklin Johnson.
Franklin.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Yeah, and this is a special interview episode because we've been trying to get you on the podcast for a long time.
I did not know I was so popular.
And everyone heard about this in the intro, but you are the executive director for BRAG. And what does BRAG stand for?
BRAG has definitely the best acronym in the cycling world, for sure, hands down. And it stands for the Bicycle Ride Across Georgia.
Well, I believe, do you know that you're on a RAGBRAI podcast? So I think our acronym is pretty nice too.
I would disagree because everyone I've talked to who you've told them once about it in the past, oh yeah, you're going out to do that RAGBRAI thing or the RAGBRAI.
Oh yeah, all right.
It's kind of like having a dog name where you have 2 syllables is probably too many syllables. You really want to stick to 1 syllable and just say it, brag.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Yes. Well, we're very happy to have you on. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of what exactly BRAG is, will you tell the listeners where you currently live and maybe what the cycling culture is like there?
Yes, I am located actually in Atlanta, Georgia, capital of Georgia. Grew up in the area, went to school here, so very familiar with it. I'd say it's got a great cycling culture. Atlanta is the king of cars for sure. If you have to have a car, we don't have great public transportation here. So a lot of people do commute by bike. And we have a lot of great cycling infrastructure here. We've got trails that go, nearly all the way across the state. We've got a Freedom Park trail that goes, tons of miles out to some state parks around the area. So we've got a lot of good cycling infrastructure and really good advocates around who have been increasing that as the years have gone on. So as long as I've lived here, I've definitely seen growth in the number of people commuting and also recreational cycling in the area.
Excellent. Oh, go ahead.
What is your gravel culture like in Georgia?
It's growing. And Bragg's, we're actually going to offer a gravel ride probably the fall of next year. This year, we were trying to do it this year. It might not work out. But so it's definitely growing. I actually ride a gravel bike for everything. I find in the city with a number of potholes and trash on the road and stuff like that, it's just easier to ride a gravel bike than a road bike here in the city. So that's what I ride.
Yeah, I actually do that too. Or at least my favorite bike right now is my adventure bike, which is meant for gravel. But I've interviewed a couple of people for my own podcast that were from the Atlanta area, and they definitely, excuse the word, but they definitely brag highly about how cool it is to bike in your area.
Oh, for sure. And that's the other thing too, is not just Atlanta, but the state as a whole. You can go up north and get a ton of mountains. We have a ride up there called Six Gap, which is 10,000 feet of elevation in 100 miles. So you can get a ton of mountains, tons of views. We got the Piedmont, the Midlands, which are more rolling hills. And then we've got, the South. We've got a bunch of islands you can ride on, and some of the coastal areas, which are super flat, but also have great cycling infrastructure. So just as a state, we have everything to offer, from beaches and islands to rolling hills and farmland to mountains if you want to get some elevation in. So definitely offer it all.
So anybody that has not been to Georgia yet to ride their bicycle needs to put it on the calendar, right?
Oh, great place to ride a bike.
Yeah.
For sure.
You're making it sound pretty appealing with the beaches and the the mountains and the warmth in general. So
yeah, we just got back from one of our winter rides where we visit 4 different islands in a week-long ride, and our average temperature was like 74 while we were there.
Terrible.
So it was great. Yeah. It was an awful work trip, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, let's get a little bit into work. And, we're trying to tell people that Georgia is a great place to bike. And you have a specific, actually you have multiple events, but I wanted to at least start out by talking specifically about BRAG. And I think we already mentioned that you're the executive director there. So tell us a little bit about BRAG.
Yeah, so BRAG is an annual odyssey of exploration across the state. It's the second oldest cross-state ride, right behind RAGBRAI.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, so we actually are, the lady who founded BRAG went up and rode RAGBRAI in the 70s, came back and decided, Georgia's way cooler than Iowa. We need something just like that. So,
hey.
So she started BRAG back in 1980, and it's been going strong ever since. I took it over back in 2015, 2016, and have just really turned it into not only a cycling event, because you're on the bike and you're riding many miles a day, but when we when we get off the bike, we have a number of things you can do and get into that are really going to expose you to the culture of the area. Last year, for instance, our theme was Peaches to Beaches.
Georgia. Nice.
Yeah. Georgia, of course, being the peach state, we went and we visited 14 different farms along the tour. So we had, 2 to 3 different stops at farms where you could try the local produce, meet and talk to the farmers while you're out there. And that was out on the route every day. So all the rest stops were at farms, which is a really cool tour. So we have a theme like that every year to kind of get people immersed in our culture here.
I love that. That's such a cool way to sort of, like, we have a logo every year, but it doesn't really influence the ride. I really like how that it permeates the ride itself with the theme.
Yeah.
So just let's backtrack just a little bit and talk about you for a second. What did you do before you led BRAG?
So I was actually in finance for a great many years and was finding it not as fun as I thought it would be. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm shocked.
And I've got an entrepreneurial spirit. So I started doing beer and music festivals with some friends of mine, and that was going well, but it was not. The audience we chose was never, going to grow and turn into a full-time gig. But then I had actually ridden BRAG growing up, and my mom has done it 25 years in a row.
Wow.
So she was really good friends with the old executive director. And he was kind of aging out and looking to retire and looking to bring on a new young whippersnapper to get the ride in shape again. And actually quit my full-time finance gig, went a year without paycheck to take over BRAG and turn it around.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
And BRAG happens in the spring or early summer?
It's transition. In Georgia, it could be the spring or it could be the summer. It just depends on the year.
That sounds like Iowa.
Yeah. So it is always first full week of June every year. And that's our time frame. And sometimes it's hot and sometimes it's chilly. 2021 was pretty chilly for whatever reason that year. And then last year was right in the middle. So kind of a roll of the dice depending on what kind of weather you get, but typically hot.
So when you're saying it's a full week and like you mentioned, you went to all different kinds of farms one year, would you say that it's similar to RAGBRAI, especially based on if you go way back to when it was founded? It was founded based on RAGBRAI, but would you consider it similar?
Nothing is similar to RAGBRAI. You guys know this. RAGBRAI is its own unique animal.
Yes.
And love it or hate it, it's very unique. I will say, the format is similar in terms of we ride every day. We do take a day off in the middle. We have what's called our layover day. So you ride 3 days, and then in the middle, we'll stay in the same town twice. So we do offer a ride that day, and we offer a lot of other cool things on that layover day. And then the next 3 days, you ride and finish out the ride. So a lot of people like to take that layover day to do some laundry, hang out with friends. We've got a chocolate and wine tour in the town this year. So we've got lots of fun things you can do on the layover day. We'll have concerts and you can go rafting. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do on the layover day, depending on the city we're in. So a lot of folks like that kind of break in the middle. So the format is very similar to RAGBRAI. Other distinctions, you guys have umpteen million people. We do not.
Maybe by design, that's the case for you?
For sure. So, and that's, I always tell people you got to go do RAGBRAI. It's kind of the Mecca. It's the one thing you got to do. Check it off the bucket list. And our BRAG actually takes a huge team of folks every year that do our ride, and we take them up there to experience RAGBRAI. And we've got a big red teepee tent we set up. And so we go up there every year. But a lot of people, you tell them, and they just, are kind of put off by the just sheer volume of people.
Yeah.
Which I love it. I think the more the merrier for sure. But BRAG itself will have, right around 1,300 folks this coming year to do the cross-state ride. So it's large enough that you have all the amenities that you would expect, like showers, indoor camping, hotels, outdoor camping, mobile hotel trailer, phone charging stations, water, rest stops every 15 miles. So it's got all the infrastructure. We've got enough people to get that. But it's small enough that it still feels like an intimate ride where you can get to know the community and the folks you're riding with.
And is it similar to RAGBRAI in that it is a ride, not a race?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely Smell the Roses. Our theme this year is Lakes and Libations.
Nice.
So So we're going by a number of beautiful lakes that we have here in the state. And then at the end of the day, we'll have some libations you can enjoy. So
Very good. It kills me that your ride is exactly the same time as the RAGBRAI route inspection. I always say that when I retire, I'm going to come down and do brag. So like I'll hit you up in about, I don't know, a long time.
20 years
from now.
Fair enough. Or you just got to ask Matt, see if you can take a week of vacation.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
Oh.
No. So does the route change every year in the places you stop or the direction you go? How does that work?
Absolutely. So it changes every year. And there are different corridors, similar to RAGBRAI. We've got mountains and we've got medium and then we've got the coast and flat down south. So it changes. We'll try and pick a different corridor and alternate throughout the years of where we are going across the state. So we got some variety we can pick from and like to keep it fresh every year. So it changes every year.
You just have one year where it's ultra hard and you do only mountains.
Well, we like to temper it. So when we do go to the mountains, it's not, and I love the mountains personally, just because the scenery you get is amazing. It's typically cooler and it's not as hot. They have a lot of wineries up there, which is really cool.
Oh, very good.
And just, you can't get those awesome downhills without working for it a little bit. But what we do when we go to the mountains is we typically try and make the days shorter, so you'll have much shorter days, but, higher elevation. Yep. So it doesn't seem as strenuous.
So then with that said, maybe you could look at this year and describe a typical day. I mean, are riders getting up really early to get the miles out of the way, or are they tell us what a typical day's like?
So a typical day on RAGBRAI, it depends on who you are.
So. Okay. So, all right. So similar to other tours.
Yeah. So we have a mass start at 7 a.m., which is different than RAGBRAI.
Oh,
so I know.
Do you actually shoot a gun into the air to get people to start, or?
We did that a few years that people just didn't like it for some reason. So,
how about a bugle?
The police had issue with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a bugle.
Something. Yeah, we need to do something. So we typically have a mass start every morning at 7 a.m. And most folks will make the mass start. You'll have some who, if it's a hard day, they might get out there earlier. Or, if you had too many libations the night before, just can't seem to get it together, like Andrea most days, you'll get started a little late. So
guilty.
So we'll have a mass start and then we'll do a ride. And then, we have rest stops every 15 miles or so, which are typically at a cool, either a cool geographic marker or something where we can, offer some fun activity for folks. And then from there, they'll ride, say, 50, 60 miles, depending on the route that day. And then you get off the bike. And, off the bike is obviously going to be just as long as you were on the bike, depending on how fast you're riding. So then in the afternoon, we have daily things that happen every day. Like we have an educational class, we offer yoga, there's masseuses on site. And then we work with each individual town to bring the best in entertainment and what that town has to offer to all the riders. So we'll have, if we're not staying in the downtown area, we'll have shuttles to the downtown area. And then we'll have a slate of activities. There's typically a concert in each town. Sometimes it's a sip and stroll we'll have. If there's rafting, folks can go rafting. In Blairsville this year, Brazelton this year, we're doing, like I said, that chocolate and wine. They have a bunch of wineries in this particular town and a lot of restaurants around their square. So they organized a walking tour where you go to different restaurants and try a glass of wine and some chocolate and pair them and go to 5 or 6 different restaurants and enjoy. So tours of the winery that day. So you have tons of different options of what you can do when you get off the bike. And then everybody will go back to bed and wake up and wash, rinse, and repeat.
What a way to explore Georgia.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so.
Yeah. When you look at this year, I don't know enough about the communities. I'm looking at your website right now, but any major challenges? Is there going to be a lot of elevation or, obviously weather we can't predict, but any major challenges that you can think of?
Having too much fun. I don't know how you balance that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Choose
Andrea,
wisely what you want to do.
We need to do this one year.
I know. He's really selling it. So, okay, I have to ask you a question near and dear to my heart. Is this a camping event or are hotels available, or how do people usually, you mentioned camping trailers?
Yeah, so it's a choose your own adventure. So we have a wide variety of options you can choose.
Okay.
You can do outdoor camping. We have spots where we camp depending on where we're at. We try and pick some shady fields where you can get, but it'll all be in one location. So you can do outdoor camping, which is what most folks do.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have indoor camping, so we'll stay at recreation centers or aquatic centers that'll have large open gyms where probably 30-40% of the riders will choose to do that. They sleep inside with air conditioning and outlets to charge your phones and things like that, which is also very nice. A number of folks will do hotels, so we have shuttles to and from the overnight camp to hotels in the local area, or a lot of folks will bring an RV, which is also fun if you can find a driver to bring an RV, kind of like the bus culture out there in Iowa.
Yeah.
And then new this year, which I'm super excited about, is we have Snooze Box, which is a mobile hotel trailer. It's a trailer. It's got hotel rooms in it, so you can just reserve that for the week, and it will move from location to location. So you move into it on Sunday, and then you get to live in it for the whole week. Don't have to pack up, pack down. Don't have to move your stuff. All the amenities, air conditioning, phone chargers, fans, sleeping in a bed that's yours, all week. And so I'm really excited about that. So if you've seen, Pork Belly has their fat trailers that living high on the hog. It's pretty much the exact same thing as that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And the cool thing about the snooze box is once you put your stuff in there, it just travels along ahead of you, right?
Yeah, you don't have to move, which is great. So even if you're staying, hotels are nice, but hotels are for one night, and you got to pack up your stuff.
Yeah.
Put it on the truck, get it to the next spot, unload it, move it back to the hotel, unpack. I mean, you're killing 2 hours a day if you're staying in a hotel just commuting. So this eliminates all that. Plus, you don't have to travel to a hotel. You get to stay right in the middle of the action.
The snooze box comes to you.
So when I stay up super late and I need to get myself out of bed early, I just roll out of bed out of that snooze box and hit the road. I love it.
That's right.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like van life meets brag.
Yeah. I love that.
Exactly. And you don't have to hire a driver. We'll do it all for you.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Cool.
And now little side note, you mentioned buses. Bragg has an extremely cool bus that you bring on RAGBRAI a lot of the time. So I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit.
The coolest bus.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean.
So part of so this was before I decided to leave finance and take over Bragg. I went and did RAGBRAI for the first time because getting into it and learning more about the other cross-state rides, you got to go and check out, what other rides are doing well, what they're doing not, et cetera. So I decided to get some friends together, and we all went up and did RAGBRAI. Yeah. And, much like we were talking about, we camped outside, actually slept in a hammock that whole week. But nice. It was very tiresome. You're getting off the bike. If it was a long day, you're already tired. Then you got to set up your stuff the next day, break it down, set it up, break it down, set it up, break it down, set it up, break it down, which was fine. And it was totally fun. But then I saw these folks that had all these awesome buses. I was like, man, that's awesome. And then I thought, they would be super expensive, which I found out they were for auction and they were super cheap. Yeah, and then I decided setting up and breaking down every day is for the birds. I'm buying a bus.
I think it's the maintaining of the bus that turns into an expense.
It's not that bad. You change the oil, get some new tires on it, make sure your brakes are good. You're good to go.
All right,
yeah,
good.
There you go. Good. Yeah, I encourage you listeners to go and check out the Bragg bus during RAGBRAI this year if you're going to be riding RAGBRAI, because it's pretty. The paint job is cool, and then it goes from there. So,
and what we did is I love that bus culture so much that we actually. I created on Bragg's YouTube channel. You can check out bus cribs.
Nice.
Yes.
So I did MTV style cribs. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But basically, we recreated that, and I went around to all the coolest buses I could find. Found the guy that was in charge of building it out or running it or however it was, and then get them to tour us around all the different buses. So they. I don't know, we may have like 10 or 15 episodes on there, Bragg's YouTube channel of bus cribs. Definitely check that out. You can see all the cool RAGBRAI buses.
I think I'm Bus Cribs' biggest fan, so you should check it out.
And I can guarantee you that my team bus is not on there because, I haven't been on the team, actually riding on the team for a long time, but they finally got an indoor restroom like 2 years ago. So before that, I mean, we're trying to make it to RAGBRAI, and we'd have to stop every hour to find a Casey's to go to the restroom. So it's, yeah, they've got a ways to go before they can make it on your episode of Bus Cribs.
Or maybe they could be in the Hall of Shame.
The Hall of Shame, yes.
That's great.
All right, so let's get back on track a little bit more. I want to talk about Bragg a little bit more before we get totally in the weeds.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you. During a typical day on the ride, what's your role? How do you operate?
I'm just a firefighter, just putting out fires.
Sure.
Yeah.
So and also the conductor, just making sure the train runs on time. We are great. We bring on a ton of staff, in addition to what we already have to help make the ride run smooth. So just really just making sure everything is running like it has to. And I'm, I'll be out on the route, helping drive SAG, or I'll, go to the rest stops, making sure they have everything they need. And so I'll run into some people, 4 and 5 times a day, out on the route or back at town. So I'm kind of all over the place, just making sure everything is running smooth.
Excellent. How about tell us, like, Andrea and I could go on forever on this question, but specific to Bragg, what are some of your favorite memories?
Probably growing up. I've got some fond memories growing up. It's when I was 13 years old, I had a super sweet 20-inch chrome Mongoose Hoopty, which was my bike. I thought I was super cool. I would polish that thing every day after school, and it was I would ride around the neighborhood thinking I was all that. And my mom was, like everyone in 1999, super into Lance Armstrong.
Sure.
And so she got the bright idea to go on this thing called Bragg. And, being 13, not having many options for what we were doing as a family or many choice in the matter, she signed us up for one of their ride called the Spring Tune-Up Ride, which was a, kind of a tune-up ride where you go, it's a 3-day ride, same deal with their concerts at night and all that. But during the day, you go out and ride. And she drugged me along. I did 60 miles at 13 years old on a 20-inch hoopty.
Oh, man.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I remember just getting murdered on the hills. And, guys were passing me saying, man, if I was on that thing, my knees would explode.
Yeah.
And you're
At
like,
the time,
oh, great.
oh, yeah, old man, whatever. And then now I look back and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how my knees didn't explode, because if my seat's not adjusted correctly now, I feel like my knees are going to explode. So then the next year we, I was like, oh, next year we got to do this better. So she signed us up for the full week-long ride across the state. So I guess I was 14, went to Goodwill and got a nice Bianchi.
Oh, wow. That was a good find.
I say nice. It was nice for Goodwill.
Well,
right, yeah. But yeah,
the
good
tires
find.
had air in it. Oh no, it was great find for sure. The shifters were on the top tube and all that, the whole deal. But it was great. And then, of course, Mom was like, "Oh, you need to get on ride. You need to get on ride." And I was just still riding my hoopty around the neighborhood with pegs because that's what we're into, jumping ramps, thinking I was training for riding across the state. And our babysitter at the time was a family friend, and she was pretty cute. And their family had actually signed up for the ride too. So I was thinking I was going to ride this ride and impress her, but boy, was I wrong about how many miles we were doing and how tired I was at the end of each day. And at the end of the ride, I just wanted to finish. I was like, yeah, I finished, and chat with this girl at the end of every day. But needless to say, I didn't win her over. Being your babysitter, that fantasy never comes true as a 14-year-old boy. But no, it's great. So just getting out there and riding the ride at a young age, and not really knowing what you're getting into, but enjoying it all the same was awesome.
And what a different perspective you have now, because now you're an adult. I don't know if you still have the hoopty, but when you see young kids pedaling Bragg, you probably have nostalgia, but also oh man, this poor little kid.
Oh, it's great. We have the full gamut. We have some folks who pull their kids on trailers, which I am. I have 2 kids now, and that is a goal of mine to be able to pull them that far on a trailer. I don't think I could right now, to be honest with you. Yeah, those guys are beasts that do that. But seeing the younger kids, and we've got this ride, just like RAGBRAI's been around for 43, 44 years now. We've got whole families that will come, and you've got 3 generations that are all doing the ride. You got the grandparents, the parents, and the grandkids now that have all, grown up doing the ride, and, come back and do it year after year because they love it so much. It's such a great family bonding experience. It's not your typical vacation that you can go out there and, suffer through 60 miles together and have those memories, later in life together.
The memories of shared suffering. I love it. We bond over things like that.
Oh, for sure.
That reminds me of your family, Andrea, like all the parrots, all the generations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very similar in that, like, some of my favorite memories of me and my brothers are when we were all in pain cycling on heavy bikes across the state. But yeah, so.
And that's, you wouldn't replace that for anything in the world.
Absolutely
not.
Sure,
yeah. You touched a couple times on the fact that you have other events that you host. Do you want to touch on those a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. We like to do, keep it going year round rather than just summer. So coming up, we have our spring tune-up ride, which is one of my favorite rides that we have. And that's a 3-day, stay in the same spot, don't have to move. We offer everything from 20 to 100 miles. And that's just a really special ride because everybody camps out at this sunflower farm. It's just beautiful. And we've got 3 to 4 bands each day. All the food trucks are there. So everybody stays in one spot. And it's just such a great communal festival where you're riding your bike every day. It's just amazing. And that's coming up actually in less than a month now.
Oh, wow.
Coming right up.
Yeah. And then this coming year, next January, we're also doing rides to Mexico.
Whoa.
Mexico.
Wait a minute. This sounds pretty cool.
Muy bien.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I really enjoy that because it's, those are short miles, so anybody can do them. So a lot of folks will come with their spouses. So we'll cover, we're not doing more than 30 miles in a day. But then we've got such a slate of cultural experiences when you get off the bike where we're visiting these cenotes that are just these, deep blue swimming holes in the middle of the jungle you can visit. We go to Chichen Itza, which is the Mayan pyramids. We stop at this other place. We've got a cooking class from these 2 these old Mayan ladies who teach us how to make fresh corn tortillas right on the fire.
Oh.
So tequila tastings. It's such a great tour. Stay at some pretty nice hotels along the way. So Mexico is amazing. We're about to open up registration for that soon. And then we do our winter ride, which I think I mentioned to you guys, which is our coastal tour. And we get to visit 4 different islands while we're there, and it's all flat, which is great.
Yeah.
And, get some good weather and good views along the way, cycling along the beach.
Yeah, all flat's about my speed during the winter time. So I like the sound of that. Yeah, that's awesome. So all these rides, these fantastic, exciting rides, where do you go to register and how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, brag.org.
Oh, very good.
Simple.
Super easy.
Yeah.
And even if you want to do like one of the Mexico trips, is that still where you start to go find that information?
Brag.org. We've got all our rides up there. And again, next year we're adding on this gravel ride, which I'm pretty excited about too.
Oh, yeah. And then back to Bragg specifically, are you still accepting registration right now?
We are, and we are unique in that we don't close our registration. So some folks will come register on site actually.
Oh, okay.
So, and then there's also, 3-day options, 1-day options, and we've got shuttles to get you back and forth from the different cities. So you can ride and register for the ride, as of the day of, which is great.
Excellent.
Yeah. Just a little side note, we're looking at the registration page right now, and I love your logo. It's really cool.
Yeah.
With the water bottle and like the waterfall, it's pretty neat.
Oh, for the ride this year,
Yeah.
Lakes and Libations.
Yes.
That's this year.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. So.
And it's the 43rd, so that's impressive.
That's right. It would be the 44th, but we took a year off.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, getting up there though, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you guys are on your 50th, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yep. We're officially not over the hill, but like getting there.
Yeah.
Ooh, that should be our logo next year. Anyway, okay. All right.
Oh, well, Franklin, we so much appreciate that you came on the podcast to talk about Bragg and some of your other rides. And I guess the biggest question we have left is, will we see you in Iowa in July?
100%. We will be there with our big red tent, bus, and snooze box, and the whole nine.
Awesome.
Cool. And we'll put in our show notes, we'll put the link to your YouTube page so that people can check out the bus cribs.
we've got bus cribs, and then we also have a rundown of what it's like to ride RAGBRAI from our perspective.
Oh,
So
very
that's
good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Well, if anything bad, we didn't endorse that.
It's the truth. We'll
Yeah,
put it
that's
there.
right. Okay,
We'll put it
all
that way.
right, all right. We can handle that.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Franklin.
Thank you. We'll
Yep.
see you soon on the road.
Fun having you on the show.
Thanks.
Well, listeners, that is it for this week. We both want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast.
And if you'd like to contact us with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com, or you can also follow us on social media at justgobike on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. And if you have any extra time, pop on over to the Murphology podcast for more bike adventure interviews.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll be back next week. Until then, just go bike!